The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today's shiur is about, did astrology play a role in the Exodus? If you look at side number 1, Pesach is coming up fast. So let's take a look at the side number 1. This is from Parshas Bo that we're going to read on Pesach before you know it. On side number 1, the bottom, Pasuk Yud. This is Paroi speaking to Moshe. Side number 1, Pasuk Yud, the first of the wide line. Vayomer Aleihem. And Pharaoh said to them, who is them? Moshe and Aaron. Yichi Hashem imachem. May God be with you. And sarcastically, you should live so long. Kasher shalach eschem, as I will send you out. Vestapchem and your children. Forget about it. Ru'u, see kira neget penechem. Evil is set against you. I'm not going to let you go because there's evil in your intentions. So forget about it. So what does that mean, Ra'ah neget penechem? So Rashi quotes Chazal, Rashi on the bottom of the right column. Rashi said, Shamati. You see that? Kochav echad. Rashi said, I heard this. The bottom Rashi on the right column. Shamati, I heard. Kochav echad yesh sheshmo ra. Rashi says that there is one star in the astrological scheme that the name of that star is Ra. What does Ra mean? Evil. So I'm reading the top Rashi on the left column on top. It's underlined in yellow. Amalehem Paroi. Paroi said to Moses and Aaron, Royani, I see bitstagninu sheli. What does that mean, bitstagninu sheli? Through my crystal ball, or through my stargazers. Remember Gene Dixon? Through my stargazers. Oisoi koichav, this certain star, olo lekraschem bamidbar, is going to rise against you in the midbar. Vu simen dam v'hariga. You better stay put in Cairo, because if you leave with the Exodus, the evil's going to get you. The evil star is going to get you, and will spill your blood. You'll be killed. This is what Pharaoh told Moses and Aaron. Zusha, you have the place? It's the Rashi, the left column on top, yes. Underlined in yellow. Gushachot Yisrael be'egel. Was Pharaoh right? Pharaoh was a great stargazer. And when the Jews sinned with the golden calf, ubikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahargam, and God wanted to what? Kill them all. Omer Moshe teloseh. What did Moshe daven? How did Moshe avert the evil decree? Lama yoimru Mitzrayim lema bara etzion. God, I can't let you do it. Why should the Egyptians gloat and say you took them out? Moshe used the same word that Paro used, bara. You took them out with the evil intention to kill them in the midbar. Zuhi sh'amalahem. This is exactly what Pharaoh said to Moshe and Aaron. Ru kira neget penechem. There's evil against you in the desert. You better stay put in Cairo. Miyad, when God heard this argument, vayinochem Hashem al hara. So God relented and He didn't bring the evil. Because otherwise, Pharaoh and the Mitzrayim Avram, they would gloat and say, you see, we told you so, I told you so, you better not leave. And what about the blood that Pharaoh saw in his crystal ball? There's blood for the Jewish people in the midbar. What about the blood? And that blood became the blood of what? Circumcision. Shemol Yeshua Oisam. When the Jews crossed the Jordan, the first thing that Yeshua did was what? Was circumcised, because the Jews born in the midbar didn't go through circumcision. You know that, Sonia? If you look in Joshua chapter 5, when Joshua circumcises them, because their children were not circumcised in the midbar, was too dangerous. Hayom, Yeshua says, today, Galoshi et cherpas Mitzrayim alechem. Today I have removed the cherpa. Mazel cherpa be'anglit, Avram. The busha. I've removed the shame of the mitzvah. What does Joshua mean in chapter 5? The entire 40 years, Sonia, that the Jews were in the Midbar, the Mitzvah kept texting us or SMSing us. Dam anu royin lachem b'midbar. You're going to regret the Exodus. They kept taunting us, sending us out from SMSs that the evil star is going to get you. There's going to be blood in the Midbar. And when the Jewish people circumcised themselves, the Mitzvah stopped mocking us. Because God turned that blood that was supposed to be for us, the blood of the raw, God turned it what? Into Brit Milah. Very strange Rashi. What does it mean that astrology affected the Exodus and God didn't destroy the Jewish people because Pharaoh and the Mitzvah would gloat? What is Rashi talking about? What is this astrology? Is it real or is it make-believe? What's the message for us? And what has it got to do with the Exodus? That's the question. If you take a look at the other side, there's actually a whole Gemara about this on side number 2, whether astrology plays a role in our lives or not. And what is astrology, and does it play a role in our lives? So if you take a look on the left side, where it's underlined in yellow, Midishmuel Nami Ein Mazel Yisrael. The Talmud is telling us that all the nations of the world are underneath astrological signs, which we call Mazel, but the Jewish people are not underneath Mazel. Mazel doesn't mean luck. Mazel means from the word Nozel. What does Nozel mean? Go with the flow. Every person has a spiritual flow that he's born with. That's his destiny. But the Jewish people are not under any mazalot. So why were we afraid of Pharaoh's taunting? What did Pharaoh see? He saw blood there. If the Jewish people are not underneath the mazalot, what was Pharaoh's mocking and taunting us? That's the question we have to discuss. And how does it play out in my personal lives? Is everything controlled by the stars? How does God fit in? What about my free will? So let's see if we can work it out. Let's learn through the Gemara first. With the Shmuel. Nami Ein Mazel Yisrael. We have it underlined in yellow. And so too, from the story that occurred once with Shmuel, we conclude that the celestial signs, Avram, how do you say that in English? Mazel, or astrology, holds no sway over Israel. We're above the astrological signs. But I thought everything is controlled by God, right? So we'll get there. What happened? The story of Shmuel, the great sage Shmuel and Avlet. Who was Avlet? Shmuel, the rabbis, they had strange colleagues. Yidison, Shmuel, this great Talmudic sage, was friends with Avlet. Who was Avlet? He was like Harry Potter. He was like a warlock. The rabbi kept strange company. Okay? So he was friends with this guy Avlet, who was like like Harry Potter guy. Or what's his name? Merlin? Remember Merlin? Oh. They were once sitting together. What was this great sage doing with this warlock? I don't know. They were once sitting together as some men were going to a swamp to cut reeds. So Avlet said to Shmuel, this man is going out to cut reeds, but what? He's not coming back. It's like the Roach Motel. The Roach check in, but they don't check out. A snake will bite him and he will die. You hear this? How did he know that? He was a stargazer, astrology guy. Amalei Shmuel, right? So Shmuel said to him, if this guy is a Jewish person, you're wrong. He will go and come back. While Shmuel and Avlet, Shmuel and Harry Potter were sitting there, the man went and came back. Avlet stood up, threw off the man's pack of reeds, and he found amid the reeds, he found what? Avram, what did he find there? Look inside. A snake that had been cut in 2 pieces. You hear? Footnote 8, Avram. See footnote 8? As the guy was cutting reeds, he unwittingly what? Chopped the snake in 2. So the soothsayer was almost right. Amalei Shmuel. Shmuel said to this guy, Maya Vadet, what did you do? You must have done something, a good deed today, because it looks like you are destined to die today. What happened? You did something extra chesed. Amalei. So the guy said to Shmuel, every day we poor workers, we all throw our bread together in one basket and eat it. Look at note number 9. Every member of the group throws his bread into a communal basket, and then we eat it all together. One person would collect it. Today, I realized there was one of us who did not have any bread to throw into the pot. And he was going to be what? Embarrassed. So I told them all, I am going to get up and collect the bread today. When I reached that person, I made believe, I pretended to take something from him and made up the difference with my own bread. So that this guy, this poor guy, should not be what? Embarrassed. Amalei, so the sage Samuel said to him, Mitzvah Vadet, you did what? A great chesed. You did a great act of charity. Nofak Shmuel. So Shmuel went out and explained the verse. There's a verse in Mishlei, in Proverbs, Utzedakah tatzil mimoves. Charity, loving kindness, acts of chesed saves a person from what? From death. Okay? And not just from unusual death on top of the page, but also what? From death itself. Wow. Now look at footnote 12. You see Chava footnote 12? Do not say that if a person is supposed to die, the merit of his charity will ensure he dies a normal death. Rather, charity spares him from death itself and gives him extra life. So this guy was supposed to die today. His time was up. It looks like Harry Potter was right. But he did an act of chesed, which he got an extension on his contract. Yeah. Very strange. If I thought that Israel's not under astrological signs, then how could this guy, this witch, this warlock, have predicted that this guy is supposed to die today? Right? So what's it all about? So we see the merit of charity, if I'm reading footnote 12, will prevent him from dying, right? Even if his time is up, he will get an extension on his contract. That's why it's good to give tzedakah all the time. You get an extension on the contract. You don't know when your time is up, right? Now the Gemara tells another story with Rabbi Akiva. From Rabbi Akiva, we also see Ein Mazel at the top of the page. Rabbi Akiva, Nami Ein Mazel Yisrael. What happened, Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva had a daughter. And the astrologist told him, they said, the day that your daughter becomes a kala, a snake will bite her, she will die. Remember Gene Dixon? Gene Dixon went to Rabbi Akiva and said, the day that your daughter becomes a kala, she will die of a snake bite. Now you're not allowed to go to an astrologer. It says, Tomiti Hashem Elokecha. Says Yisrael, what's he doing an astrologer? There's a mitzvah in the Torah to trust God implicitly. You're not permitted to go to an astrologer, because then you're not trusting God. So the Mefarshim say, he didn't go to them. They came to him. So you're allowed to listen. You're not allowed to go to an astrologer, but if they come to you, you can listen. So Rabbi Akiva did not approach them, they approached him. So Rabbi Akiva was very worried about this matter. Why was he worried? Because looks like Gene Dixon had a good track record. He was worried, but he didn't tell his daughter anything. On the day of a wedding, what happened? What happened on the day of a wedding? She took her brooch. What's a brooch? Pin. And stuck it in the wall. She was wearing the kala crown, and she had an itch. I guess she didn't use Head and Shoulders that day. So she had an itch, so she took out, remember Head and Shoulders? So she took out the pin to scratch herself, and she stuck the pin behind her and stuck it in the wall. Little did she know, Avram, that what? That when she did so, the needle lodged in the eye of the snake, killing it. And she didn't even know.
Good shot.
Right? Good shot, without even knowing. In the morning, when she took the brooch out of the wall, the dead snake followed, stuck fast to the brooch. Rabbi Akiva, her father, said to her, "What have you done to be worthy of such a close escape? Your time was up." Amalei, she said to him, Rabbi Akiva made a big wedding. God Lador, big, probably the great synagogue, no?
You had that much money?
Well, Rabbi Akiva was a God Lador, right? No. So what happened? There was a big wedding. In the afternoon, a pauper came and called out from the doorway. He came to the chasana like schnorrers come to the chasana. Yeah. And everybody was too busy at the smorgasbord. You ever go to a smorgasbord? It's like they haven't eaten in 3 days. Right? You ever wonder? So everybody was busy at the smorgasbord and they ignored this poor pauper. No one heard him. So the Kala said, what?
She said, I'll give you my food.
Right. I stood up, took my own portion, and gave it to him. You hear the Kala herself. Armalah, Rabbi Akiva said to her, Mitzvah vadim, you have done what? A big act of chesed, and therefore, tzedakah tatzol mimoves. And not just what? From an unusual death, but even from what? But even from what? Death itself. So what's going on over here? So it looks like the astrologers were right. They told Rabbi Akiva that your daughter's time is up. But again, she did an act of charity, and she got an extension on a contract. So it looks like the astrologers do know what's going on, and yet we're not permitted to what? To consult them. Here, Rabbi Akiva did not consult them. They came to him. You can listen. He didn't go, but he didn't tell his daughter anything. Another story. The final story, then we'll analyze it, Avram. The final story. Where does the minhag come to wear a kippah? This is the only source in the Talmud where the source for wearing a kippah comes from. Is it underlined in yellow? I don't know, on the right side in the bottom there, no? Yes? Midi Rab Nachman? Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, Nami ein Mazel Yisrael. The bottom right column, it's underlined in yellow. From the great Talmudic sage, Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, we may also learn that celestial signs hold no sway over Israel. What happened? Again, the astrologers once told Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak's mother, again, she didn't go to them, you're not allowed to consult an astrologer, but if they come to you unsolicited, you're permitted to what? Listen. So Gene Dixon and Harry Potter, they knocked on Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak's mother. He was a little boy. And she said to him, what did you say to Avram? Your little Nachman will grow up to be Meir Lansky.
No.
Well, that's what they said. Remember Meir Lansky? Or maybe Bugsy Siegel, I don't know. Louis Lepke?
Loved his mother.
Right, he was good to his mother. There was a book, that's not a joke, there was a book about Jewish gangsters, they were good to their mother.
Yes.
They were good to their mother, you know.
Italian gangsters were.
Well, they were good to their mother. This is not a joke. Bugsy Siegel was rubbed out in Las Vegas. So his wife hired a rabbi to give a hesped. How do you say hesped? Eulogy. So what's he going to say about Bugsy Siegel, right? So the rabbi said that, this is not a joke, that he was a hitman for Murder Incorporated. And the mafia knew never to call him on Shabbos. He wouldn't take a contract on Shabbos. And he kept Rabbeinu Tam's man. They knew not to call him until after Motzei Shabbos Rabbeinu Tam. Right? After Havdalah Rabbeinu Tam, they would call him. Right? So that's right. So you have to find the good in everybody, right?
See the positive.
Right? So your son would grow up to be Bugsy Siegel. She never allowed him to uncover his head. You hear? She said, this is the source for wearing a kippah. She said to him, cover your head so that fear of God will always be on you. Look at footnote 14, Avram. See footnote 14? There's a check there, I think, no? Mm-hmm. This is one of the sources for what? for the practice of wearing a yarmulke. Why is it called a yarmulke? Zisel. Yarmulke. You ever wonder why? Why is it called a yarmulke? Yarmulke is an acronym, Yorei Mikah. Right? Yorei Mikah. Who's Ka? Yud K. This shows us the fear of God. Remember the Hebrew National commercial? Hebrew National. We answer to a higher authority. When you wear the yarmulke, you remember that what? That there is a higher authority. So what's the story over here? What do you mean? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, didn't he have a free will? That he has to grow up to be what? A gangster. And because he wore a kippah, he didn't become Meir Lansky. What is it, a hocus pocus? So what's this all about? All of us are born with certain impulses and urges. Just like our fingerprints are tailor-made, all of our urges and impulses are tailor-made. But what is our tafkid, Avram? We shall overcome. So let's see if we can work this out and see what this means for us today. What is the word mazel? Mazel comes from the word what? Nozel. Nozel means flow. Now, the stars, God uses the stars as his agents to run the world. You ever wonder why? Starry, starry night. Why are there trillions of stars? Why is there trillion? So according to the Rambam and the Barbanel, each star is actually the body of an angel. When you're looking at a starry, starry night, according to Rambam and Barbanel, you're actually looking at bodies of angels. Just like people, our godly soul needs a physical body to maneuver. Angels are also spiritual beings. But they need a physical body to maneuver in the physical world. So their physical body is called what? Stars. Isn't that amazing? There's a pasuk in Tehillim 147. Mone misper lakachavim. God counts the number of stars. Lukulam shemos yikra. All of them he calls a name. Psalm 147. A name in Hebrew means a tafkid. Just like every human being has a unique tafkid. So every angel has what? A unique tafkid. So all of these planets or stars that we're looking at is actually bodies of what? Of malachim. Each star is a body of a malach. So therefore, astrologers can predict the future because when they analyze the stars, what are they actually doing? They're analyzing what? The malachim that are animating what? Those stars. Just like our soul animates our body. So angels animate the body of what? Of stars. The astrologers, they had this tremendous chokhmah where they read the stars and actually they're reading the malachim, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu regulated. Malachim, God chooses to run the world through what? Angels, agents, stars. The question is why he chooses that. But this is the idea. That what? That every person, even a Jewish person, is under a direct influence of these angels. Call it astrology, call it stars. That's the way God set up the system. That's the way Hashem set up the system. And therefore, the Pharaoh's astrologers foresaw that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Redeemer of Israel, would die by means of water. Therefore, when his mother put him in the water, the astrologers thought that what? He's finished. So the astrologers, they see the future, but it's not clear. It's a little bit vague. They see something, but not exactly clear. So, the Medrash tells us that there is a star on each plant has a mazel that animates it to grow. So God's providence works through malachim, but the angels work through the stars. The angels are, according to the Rambam and the Barbanel, like souls to the stars. When the Rambam speaks of stars as having intelligence, what does he mean by that? He means the angels that are animating those stars. That's what makes the stars rotate. So the question is, why are stars necessary in the link between God and man? Why can't God govern the world directly? Why does he need this whole system of what? Of astrology, malachim, stars. Why does the chain include God, angel, star, and then the human being? Why is that? That's the question. The Rambam says something amazing. God wants to impress us. You hear this? You ever go to Buckingham Palace, you see the honor guard? The Rambam says it's human nature when you see a king is surrounded by a huge honor guard, it increases the dignity and fear of the king. So therefore God created all of these angels, not for his benefit, but to give me a boost in Yirat Shamayim. Because when we see, as Isaiah tells us in chapter 40, Su mora meinechem, lift your eyes on high. Uru mi boreila, who created all of this? Every night the stars put on a show for free. You look at a beautiful, remember that song by Don McLean, Starry, Starry Night? Remember that song? It's to impress us, says the Rambam. To impress us. So God created all of these malachim not for his benefit. He doesn't need any help. But when we see all of these stars and realize that all of these stars are what? Bodies of malachim, it increases our love and fear of God. As when you see a human king surrounded by a huge honor guard, it increases your dignity of the king. So to increase our awe, respect, and love of Hashem, therefore God surrounds himself with the honor guard to give more dignity to the king. That's one reason why God created what? The stars, the malachim. So what is astrology? It's the study of the stars that are animated by the malachim. So God chooses to run the world through what? Through these stars. The question is why? And why is Avodah Zarah called Avodas Kachavim? The Talmud calls idolatry Avodas Kachavim. What does that mean, Avodas Kachavim? Why is that Avodah Zarah? Why is that Avodah Zarah?
Because it isn't God.
What? Because the ancient people knew that God chooses to run the world through these ministering angels. So they began to worship the stars, which were actually what? Bodies of angels. That was their mistake. They knew that the angels have power, but they don't realize that the power of the angel is only what? From HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Depending on God.
Right? So instead of worshiping Hashem, they began to worship what? The stars, which they knew are only the bodies of what? Of angels. Because they knew that their Mazel, their Shefa Avram, passes through these stars, these angels. So instead of directing their worship to the source, they began to what? Worshipping what?
Angels.
These angels. And that's why it's called Avodas Kachavim. What's the analogy? Why are they wrong? The angels are programmed by God to distribute goodies. And the ancients knew that. So they began to worship the stars or the angels. Why is that Avodah Zarah? Let me give you an analogy, okay? It's my analogy. Take it or leave it. A carpenter builds you a beautiful cabinet. So at the end, do you thank the hammer or do you thank the carpenter? Why not the hammer? The hammer built you a beautiful kit. The hammer, what else to the carpenter? A screwdriver. So go over to the tool chest. Say, oh, thank you, hammer and screwdriver. You built me a beautiful cabinet. What?
Well, the carpenter represents Hashem.
So that's my analogy. The malachim are only God's tool chest. Like a hammer and a screwdriver in the hand of the carpenter. So the mistake of the ancients was, Avram, instead of thanking the carpenter, they thanked the tool chest. You like my analogy? I think it's good. Oh, the malachim, the stars, the astrology are God's tools that he used to run the world. But the tools themselves have no power. They're only robots. So to worship them is nonsense. It's like thanking the toolbox instead of the carpenter. Okay? So therefore what? Stars form part of the chain between God and man. The stars are necessary so that angels can what? Can what? Interact with our world. Like the toolbox that is used by what? By the carpenter. Right? So, what does it all mean for us? What does it all mean for us? What's God's grand plan for us? God grants a special destiny to each and every one of us. The tools or vehicles that God uses to bestow this destiny on us. What's another word for destiny? Mazel, flow, right? The tools or vehicles that God uses to bestow this destiny on us is called astrology, angels, or mazolot. They're all synonyms, which are the souls of the stars and the planets. These tools are spiritual robots or spiritual computers programmed by God to interact with what? With us. Therefore, angels, like computers, have absolutely no free will to act independently. To believe that any angel or star can act independently is to believe in idolatry. And therefore, the Talmud and the Rambam referred to idolatry as avodas kachavim, the worship of the stars. The worship of the stars. So every person is born with a certain package. Mazel. But every Jew can rise above and change his destiny. As God told the first Jew, Abraham, God took him, it says, Vayetza isa achutza. God took him outside. What do you mean God took him outside?
Barbecue.
Huh? God took him outside of his mazolot. How do you say that in English?
Wow.
Outside of his destiny. Abraham told God, I checked my astrological signs and I'm not destined to have a child. Abraham was a great astrologer. Before the Torah was given, a non-Jew can go to an astrologer. It's not a problem. So Abraham, before the Torah was given, consulted astrology and he found out, according to my astrological signs, my mazal, my destiny not to have any children. So Genesis 15 says God took him outside. So the Talmud explains, Abraham was not supposed to have any children. But God took him outside of his astrological signs, from his destiny, and said that I'm creating a people from you that are not going to be stuck underneath the mazolot. Every person can improve and change his personal destiny. How? By improving and changing our behavior. So a person is born with what? With bad mazel. A person can change it, Avram. And we say that, and every Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur we say, Tshuva, Tfilah, Utzedakah, Mavir, and Roya Gezerah. Don't we say Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Through tshuva, what does tshuva mean? Repentance. Tfilah. Tzedakah. Mavirin roya hagezerah. can cancel the evil decree. What's the evil decree? What? Mazel Ra, says the Vilna Gaon. The evil decree is Mazel Ra. So a person, Leilenu, is born with a bad destiny. His destiny is to be poor or to be sick, Leilenu. That's his mazel, his destiny. But through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, a person can what? Overcome. We shall overcome. So Rabbi Akiva's daughter, her mazel was to die on her wedding day. That was her mazel. For whatever reason, it's a Gilgal. Her tikkun was done, and she was supposed to die on her wedding day. But since she did an extraordinary act of chesed, she was able to what? Get an extension on her contract. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty amazing, right?
How much extra did she get?
What? Doesn't say how much, but she raised a family, right?
Pretty good.
Now the Vilna Gaon says, what is mazel? Nozel. He says, Ze tafkid shel haneshama migilgal hakodem. A person's mazel, that's his tafkid of the neshama from a previous gilgal. So if a person is suffering down here, even though he's innocent, that means he's a gilgal. He has to make tikkunim. Like Rabbi Akiva's daughter had to die on a wedding day, and this other guy had to die, this worker. But through an extraordinary act of chesed, a person can rise above his mazel, and even though his mazel, his destiny was to have a tragic life, lo yaleinu, through an act of chesed, a person can extricate himself and rise above his mazel.
And that's only for Jews, right?
That's only for Jews.
Non-Jews can't.
That's only for Jews. Non-Jews, they're right, they're in their mazel. But only a Jew has this extraordinary power, as God told the first Jew, Abraham, I'm taking you outside of your mazel, where you can actually change your destiny.
What about like Schindler? You know, Schindler's List?
Go ahead.
He saved thousands of Jews.
That's right, he saved thousands of Jews.
For him, they would have all perished. So
Okay.
He must have gotten some tremendous
Oh, he had tremendous reward, right?
reward. Yeah.
But a person, every person has their mazel, their tafkid, which only a Jewish person can break out of his mazel and rise above his mazel through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, ma'avirin roya gezeira. A person can rise above his mazel. It's up to a person. If a person doesn't do tshuva, doesn't give tzedakah, then he's stuck in his mazel. That's his destiny. But we can change our destiny, and that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires of us. There's a strange Gemara in Moed Katan, page 28. The Talmud in Moed Katan, page 28, makes an amazing statement of him. The length of a person's life, how many children he'll have or he won't have, and his pranasa is not totally in schusim, but it's totally in mazel. Are you getting this? Moed Katan 28. What does a person want out of life? He wants longevity. He wants children, and he wants good pranasa. And the Talmud Moed Katan 28, those exact things, the length of a person's life, if he'll have children or not, whether he'll have good pranasa or not, loy b'schus talya milsa, doesn't depend on what? What's chusim mean? On your merit and good deeds, it depends on what? On mazel. Say what? Hello? What am I davening on Yom Kippur Rosh Hashanah for?
Yeah.
It's all in the cards, right? So the Vilna Gaon asked this question. Mazel is not luck, it's a mistake. Mazel from the word, no, every person is born with a specific destiny. To have good pranasa or bad, to let it be sick, not to live long, that's a person's destiny from a previous lifetime. We're not here the first time, Rachmiel, right? Deja vu all over again. We've met before. Anybody that you meet in this world, Chava, we've met before. Deja vu. There are no chance encounters. Are you? We've met before. You just don't remember it. Huh? Zusha, we've met before. I'm not joking.
Ground delusion.
What? No. Whoever you meet in this life, we have unfinished business from a previous lifetime. Huh? My ex-wife, not a joke, Ava, my ex-wife was very holy, Aryeh. How holy was she? Every night she served me a burnt offering.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But Chava, this is true. My ex-wife told me you won't have to go to Gehenna. I'm your Gehenna.
Whoa.
That's what she told me. Anyway, where was I? So, a person is born with a certain mazel, a destiny, a flow from a previous lifetime. But through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, the reason why we daven every day is we don't want to accept our destiny if it's bad. Even though God says that's your destiny. I don't want to accept it. God said, I'm going to show you. We're going to say to Hashem, I'm not accepting that destiny. Hashem wants us to break on through to the other side, to break out of our destiny, to rise above our mazel through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. That's the Roya Gezerah, says the Vilna Gaon. But if you don't do it, you have your mazel. That's your mission. If it's never a bad mission, you have to accept it. But you don't have to accept it. If you do tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, you can actually change the destiny that God gave you. And that's exactly what God wants. Show me what you're made of. Yes?
Rabbi Sprecher, in terms of Gilgul Nefashot, could a Jew be a Gilgul of a Goy in a previous life? For example, could a big Nazi be reincarnated as a rabbi?
That's a very good question.
Of course.
That's a very good question.
Tikkun for ancestors or something?
That's a very good
This
question.
time I'm going to make up for what I did last time.
To answer your question, Aryeh, I will what?
Ask another question.
A Jew always answers a question with what?
Another question.
Why not?
Yes, but no.
The Talmud, tractate Yevamot, which deals about Gerim, says Ger shenit gayer, Ger shenit gayer, Ger shenit gayer. Does that make any sense? It should say Goy shenit gayer, a non-Jew who converts. It never says that anywhere in the Talmud. It says a convert who converts. It seems to be double talk, Sonia. It should say Goy shenit gayer, a non-Jew who converts. But never says that. Avram, why not?
Because every Jew who converts has a Jewish soul.
So the Zohar says that a non-Jew cannot convert to Judaism because it's like getting a soul transplant. So it never says a non-Jew who converts. If he converts, it's a siman chava that he was a Yiddish neshama who got fablungit. How do you say that in English? Fablungit. A lost soul. He did something in a previous lifetime that his tikkun was to be born non-Jewish. Once the tikkun is made, Sonia, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Zusha. So it doesn't say Goyshin is Gayer. That's not possible. Gershin is Gayer. So every convert to Judaism was a Jewish neshama that Sonia took a detour for whatever reason. Once the tikkun is made, then what? She comes home.
I heard that
Yes.
Hashem went to all the nations with the Torah.
Right.
And they all rejected the Torah.
Right.
There were certain
Right.
Jews that wanted to accept
Certain
it.
non-Jews.
They actually.
Right. So there's another explanation. God went shopping the Torah, right? And the nations turned him down. But there were some individuals that what? We wanted, they got outvoted by the majority. So another explanation of the Zohar is that those minority non-Jews that said, I want it, they became what? Gerim. So God went shopping the Torah and the whole world turned him down. Who's the most rejected figure in the Bible, Aryeh? God. 70 times he was turned down. 70 times he was turned down. Until he finally came to the Jews. And he said, Jews, I have something good for you. What's the first question a Jew asks? How much does it cost?
How much it cost?
So God said it's free. So therefore, if it's free, we'll take two. It's not a joke. So we have the written Torah and what? And the oral Torah. If it's free, we'll take two, right? But why did God go? God knew that they're going to reject him, Chava. Didn't God know that? So why did he waste Chavayochel's time going to the United Nations and the European Union when he knew they're going to reject him and turn him down?
They couldn't complain they didn't get a fair chance.
Right.
Right.
What? But a deeper level. To teach us, if you don't succeed, try again. Rejection hurts. God said, I was rejected 70 times. Did I give up?
No.
Keep on trucking. See, so that's the message. You're rejected. Keep on going until you what? You're accepted. I think that's the deeper message of why God went shopping the Torah, even though he knew that they are what? Going to turn him down. So astrology, the astrologers do see, because they tapped into the wisdom, knowing that the angels are programmed by God, and the angels animate the stars, and that's what the stargazers. But we are not permitted to what? To consult them, Chava. Why? It's a busha. We have a direct relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What are you going to the robots for, Avram? It's a busha. Even though they're right, they're partially right, but we have a direct relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bonim atem Hashem Eloheichem. We are called God's children, right? The first message that God gave to Pharaoh, Pesach is coming up, Aryeh, before you know it. The first message to the United Nations, B'ni B'chori Yisrael. My child, my firstborn is Israel. Shmos 4. We're not just God's child, we're his firstborn. Family can have 12 children. Like this Rabbi was killed, 12 children. But there can only be what? One firstborn. So we're not just God's children, we're what? Every one of us is like how do you say Ben Yochid in English? B'ni B'chori Yisrael. Each one is like an only child, a firstborn. So if we consult the tool chest, Avram, if we consult the robots, it's a busha. God said, what are you going to the robots for? That system's for the United Nations. You are my beloved child. Don't embarrass yourself by consulting the computers, the robots. You don't need them. I want you to rise above them. You could be stuck, b'vakasha, if you want to be under their influence, b'vakasha. But that's embarrassing for a Jewish person. God wants us to blast off, Sonia, like the first Jew, Abraham. God took him outside of his astrological signs. We rise above the Malachim. When the Malachim came to what? To Abraham. V'hu omed aleim. Aryeh, it says he stood above them. Now, I don't know about the English. The Hebrew says, V'hu omed aleihem. He, Abraham, stood over them. What's the Torah telling me? The Malachim came to him, it says he stood over them. That's what it says in Parashat Vayera. Abraham and the Jewish people can rise above a Malach. We can rise above a Malach. Because a Malach has no free will. He's a robot, a computer. We have free will. And therefore, if we use our free will properly, Avram, we're much greater than Malachim. That's the message. Yes?
Only Jews have free will?
No, every person has free will. But only a Jewish person can break out of his mazel, out of his unique destiny.
So a goy can't do anything about it?
Yeah,
What? He could be a goy could be a tzaddik or rasha, but he can't break his mazel if he's born sick, to be impoverished or to be childless. That's his mazel. That's his destiny for previous Gilgul. So he's stuck. But a Jewish person, if he has this bad mazel, he can rise above it. So even though the mazel decreed, that God decreed through this star angel that he should be what? Impoverished or sick, he can what, Connie? Rise above it. Tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, mavir neroya gezerah. That's why we are a unique nation, and anyone can join us, right? Judaism, other religions say, Chava, my way or the highway. All religions say that except Judaism. Judaism says, Judaism for Jews, and for non-Jews, keep the 7, go to heaven.
They can't,
Keep the 7, go to heaven.
But
they can't change their mind.
They can't change the mazel, okay? But if they keep the 7 Noachide laws, they go to heaven.
50-50 chance.
Right? Yes?
What happens, God forbid, Lolena, if a Jew does bad things, uses his free will to do negative stuff?
So the Zohar says if a Jew abuses his free will, then he's stuck in his mazel. He cannot break out of his mazel. He's stuck in his mazel. So he has to accept what his destiny was. If it was negative, but if he does tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, he can rise above his mazel. But that's up to the person to utilize his free will properly. Or not. You make the call. So next time we see a starry night, Aryeh, remember that song with Don McLean? What are you looking at? Bodies of malachim. Did you know that? Bodies of malachim. Heavenly body, literally, Aryeh, heavenly bodies. So just like every human being has a unique tafkid, God doesn't run out of fingerprints or tafkidim, so every malach has his unique tafkid, and in order to accomplish his mission in the physical world, he needs a body, and his body is called stars. Right? That's why the Jews invented Hollywood. All of us can be a star. Right? Yes, sir.
Planets, is that something? What are planets?
Kochavim. The Rambam, Rabbi will speak about Kochavim. What? I don't know, but there's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. Mone mispa lakochavim. God counts the number of stars. Tehillim 147. Hukulam shemos yikru. Each one he calls by name. What does that mean? Each one he calls by name. So Ramban explains a name in Hebrew means a mission. Each star, like every human being, has its particular mission. But the thing is that the robots, the stars, they can't fail. Right? They have no free will. They're programmed. Just like Tony the Tiger can't fail. Can Tony the Tiger fail? Remember Tony the Tiger? Yeah. Elmer the Bull? Right? Malachim are like the animal world. They cannot, their mission is to be what they are. The Maral points out there's only 2 creations in the universe that are created incomplete. Tony the Tiger was created complete. Elmer the Bull, complete. Did Elmer the Bull ever wake up one morning and say, gee, today I'm going to be the best bull I can be? Aryeh, I'm going to be the best bull. Elsie the cow. I'm going to be the best cow I can be. Right? Or the malach will say, today I'll be the best malach I can be. Huh? The only creations that created incomplete was Adam and Adama. Adam and Adama. Therefore we're called Adam. Because just like the Adama, we were created what? Incomplete. Unlike the animals and the malachim. No difference between Aryeh, between complete and finished. If you marry the right one, you're complete. But if you marry the wrong one, you're finished. It's true, right? Yeah. So the Maral points out, we're called Adam, we come from the Adama. The Adama, Avram, is dry, dusty sand, earth. Brought through life-giving waters, the Adama begins to what? Grow and sprout and develop. So Adam, the human being, is also created incomplete. Through the life-giving waters of Torah, we can also what? Grow, develop, and bloom. No coinkydinkies, you would have said we made the desert bloom. Right? That's why the British called the Green Line. It's not a joke. Because where the Jews lived was green, and where the peace partners lived looked like a moonscape. That's why the British came up the Green Line, the Jewish people. We make the desert bloom with the help of God. I live in Pisgat Zev. You got to see Abraham before and after. The pictures. Before the Yom Kippur War, Pisgat Zev looked like a barren moonscape. Aryeh. Today it looks like a Garden of Eden. When Jordan controlled it, what? They didn't know how to irrigate. It looked like a barren moonscape. And after 1973, Pisgat Zev looks like a Garden of Eden. What is it, Abba? What is it? Adam Adama. We've got the magic touch. You've got the magic touch. Because he works for a Jew. He works for a Jew. When he's on his own, look what in Gaza, Avram, in Gaza. When we had it, it was Mamish Gan Eden. Now, what does it look like? What does it look like? A moonscape. What happened, Avram? Aryeh, what happened? When we had Gaza, it was a Gan Eden. And now, what do they do with all the greenhouses we left them?
Destroyed.
What?
They burned them.
The Para Adam.
Look at Syria.
It's not the Palestinian people, it's the Hamas leaders.
Well,
They're even our president.
you get the leaders that you deserve, no?
Some of them are bad.
Huh?
I also have the leaders we deserve.
You get the leaders you deserve. On Thursday, we're going to have a class, current events in the Haggadah. So please, on Thursday, bring your Haggadah for real chidushim to be able to say it to Seder, Avram. Thursday, current events in the Haggadah.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.